You are listening to KPFT Houston.
It's a little scary on Earth tonight. In all the darkness, it's kind of hard to see the light. We need more people with compassionate and fewer commandos. Stand up for what's right on Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. It's time to live. It's time to grow. Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. No more animal rodeos. Standing up for animals is a different kind of fight. When corporations keep the truth far from our sight, but the ones who see the truth can't ever let it go. The truth is alive on Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. It's time to live. It's time to grow. Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. An animal-free fandango. Climate chaos, a daunting planetary plight. Temperatures reaching annual record heights. If the world ends tomorrow, I'll see you in the afterglow. The postmortem's live on Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. It's time to live. It's time to grow. Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. The One Health message in stereo. Rocket leaves right now. You've got a ticket for this flight. Did you think we'd let you leave alone? The stars are burning bright. Strap in tight, ready for takeoff. Ignition, here we go. It's Monday night and time for your Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. It's time to live. It's time to grow. Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. Let love be your dynamo.
Oh, it's Monday night. It's Vegan World Radio. We'll be your host this evening. My name is Skyjack Morgan, and that over there is Dr. Crystal Heath. So stay with us for the hour here on Pacifica's 90.1 FM, KPFT in Houston, Space City, Houston. I'm so happy to see you again, Crystal, to talk about everything going on in the vegan world.
Yeah, whenever I hear that theme song, I'm just like, it's that meme where it's like nobody, and then the Vegan World Radio theme song. It's just
It gets you pumped, right? Gets
something
you pumped to
nobody
talk about...
asked for, but yet here it is.
That's my specialty, is delivering what nobody asked for. And that's what I'm here to do tonight. I'd like to invite everybody to support listener-supported radio. It's supported by listeners like you. Please head on over to kpft.org and give them $100, and they'll send you a Vegan World Radio T-shirt. And it's a killer T-shirt. Every time I wear it, everyone asks me about it, and talks to. I make vegan friends just wearing a T-shirt. It's the best way to do some networking.
Or make enemies too. Like
Yes.
that's always good, you know?
I've always tried to up my game, up my enemies list. It's hard because it's difficult to find someone who's up to the task.
Well, I think if you're a cattle farmer and you're brave enough to wear the Vegan World Radio T-shirt, I think like more power to you. And I think we need to encourage more cattle farmers, more pig farmers to wear the Vegan World Radio T-shirt just for, you know.
Yes, and support listener-supported radio, which
Exactly.
is always in danger, and it's on the chopping block more than ever in this topsy-turvy world. We need independent sources of news and opinion, and we need it like this station, KPFT. Crystal, we got some heavy stuff we want to talk about today, and I don't know which you want to start with salmonella.
There was a salmonella outbreak that sickened 79 people. 21 people were hospitalized, all from eggs. 1.7 million dozen eggs. So not just 1.7 million eggs, 1.7 million dozen eggs were recalled.
And I don't get that, though. Something that to me, I read this story, and it seems like it's well, it's kind of all over because the way the egg system works, right? The eggs end up all over the country, no matter where they're grown or produced or stolen. Now, why the heck is there salmonella on the eggs? I don't get this. Because don't we bleach our eggs in America?
Yeah, I don't know. I think if chickens are infected with salmonella, then the eggs will get infected with salmonella. It's a big problem
Oh,
in
it's
our
on the inside too, huh?
factory farms. Yeah. And I honestly don't know enough about how that happens and what we do to prevent that and what testing is involved. But nevertheless, there are some eggs that are recalled.
Did you
Yeah.
see the documentary on Netflix a while back? And I don't have a Netflix subscription myself, and I don't encourage anyone to get one. But there was a documentary called Poisoned, where they go in and they test the eggs,
Hmm.
and they on the surface of the eggs where there is not supposed to be any salmonella, they find a surprising percentage of them with salmonella. Um, I think it's scary. I know that you don't like it when I say I'm scared, but I'm worried about salmonella, aren't you?
Well, I don't have to be worried about it because I don't eat eggs,
That's
but
true.
other people do. But salmonella does infect and veggies too because of animals. So there you go.
Or if you're
Um,
unfortunate to go to a restaurant where that person has salmonella and they cook your food, you could still get salmonella. I
mm,
mean, it's a foodborne illness. Have you ever had it?
no.
Have you
Have
known
you?
anybody? No, but
No.
I had a girlfriend once that had it, and I thought, oh my God, never, I am never gonna get that one, man. Oh, look, Lord, it's a lot of people do die of it every year, but the people who don't die of it wish they were dead while they have it. It is horrific. It's bad. It's bad.
Yeah.
They can't keep anything inside of their bodies.
Well, there you go. So,
Yeah.
according to this, most people recover from the bacterial disease within a week, but it can be fatal in children, older adults, and people with weakened immune systems. But yeah, 21
Oh.
people were hospitalized. So, there you go.
21. So I had a friend once, I'm not going to mention any names, but he was a restaurateur in fabulous Las Vegas when I used to live there a long time ago. And he was running a chain of restaurants, and one of his restaurants had a salmonella outbreak. And it was a big 12 people were hospitalized. Luckily, nobody died, thank God. But it was off the chorizo. It was off a store. They bought it, and the chorizo came infected, and because it came cooked, they hadn't raised the temperature enough to kill the salmonella, and so people in the restaurant got it, and it was on the news. It was a big deal, salmonella, man. And he was so torn apart. He was a restaurant manager, and by the way, a vegan, and he was so torn apart by it because here he is, trying to keep it all together and not make that's like the worst thing to get somebody sick when that's your job. And he was
Well,
torn up about it.
there's lots of other ways we can get sick from animal products or the production methods that produce animal products.
Yes,
And
indeed.
the CDC did just find that bird flu virus that infected the Michigan dairy farmer was capable of airborne transmission.
Well, this
So,
is why I wanted to start with the birds, Crystal, because the salmonella, it doesn't seem to be a thing. I don't know. The, when it comes to cows, they're getting it from the birds, I think, or the birds getting it from the cows. How is this happening? How are all these dairies getting infected? I don't get it.
with not with salmonella, with bird flu.
With bird flu, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I meant that. That's
Um,
why, yeah. I wanted to start with salmonella because I think of that as directly just tied to birds and reptiles. But the birds and reptiles, or at least the birds in this case, seem to be the ones giving it to the dairies. What's going on here, doctor?
no, I disagree with your
You
assumption
do?
that the birds are
Oh.
giving it to the dairies. In fact, I do think that the dairies are giving it back to the poultry flocks. Sure,
Mm.
like originally maybe a cow got it, or a couple of, different instances of spillover events happened where cows somehow became infected with bird flu and then it spread from cow to cow. We think either from wild birds or whatever. But since then, for the most part, the we're thinking that the ventilation systems on the poultry facilities suck in dirt and debris from the dairies, and the
Because
dairies
they're right
nearby,
next to
and
each
then
other,
they
right?
get infected.
Yeah.
So yeah. But the scary thing is, people can get it. We only have 70 confirmed probable human cases of bird flu in the US, but speaking with various farm worker unions, it seems like there are a lot more people who are sick who aren't being tested because everybody's super scared about ICE and about
Right.
losing their job and about not having an income. So they view it as much safer to just not consent to testing
It makes
than
sense
to
to me.
actually out yourself as like, hey, I think I have bird flu. Test me. Oh, who are you?
Yeah.
Do you have your papers in order?
Yeah, depending
No,
on what hospital, there might be an agent in the hospital waiting for you to be checked in. I mean, this is
exactly.
um
So
traditionally, I mean, okay, so I worked in food and beverage for a long time, and I worked with a lot of people who were of 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 different origins and different statuses, and so many people, they do have a lower access to healthcare. That's just true anyway of people of certain economic statuses and immigration statuses. But also they're also undereducated about a lot of these things. And the businesses are supposed to be telling them about the
uneducated or poorly trained.
that's why I said undereducated, right? I don't want to call
Yeah.
them uneducated. Some of them have degrees back home and stuff, but they're undereducated, I would say. In this case, foodborne illnesses, but in the one that I'm thinking of right now was COVID, of course. I read one statistic saying that 60%, you were 60% more likely to die of COVID if you were a line cook, 60% more likely than any other profession. And it was because of these things: lack of information, lack of healthcare access, and you're an essential worker and essentially forced to go to work. It was a weird situation. I was considered an essential worker and felt compelled to go to work. I was scared, and people are working in close quarters the entire time, elbow to elbow. And we saw that in the slaughterhouses and in the restaurants, anywhere where people were working elbow to elbow and talking, and the mask is down at your chin. You know how it is. Everyone lived through this. You talk and the mask is down at your chin before you know it. And guess what? I knew a lot. People were like, "Well, did you know?" I knew tons of people who got COVID, and I feel like this is what's going to happen again. I feel like this is just all over again. You have people of different immigration statuses. La Migra is knocking on the door every day. You're afraid. You're not going to the hospital. No way.
Well, we're told the risk to the public is low, but in May of 2024, there were two Michigan dairy workers who did get bird flu.
Yeah.
And they found that when they infected ferrets with this virus that these Michigan dairy workers got, six of the infected ferrets were put in the same living space as six healthy ferrets. And within a week, all of them had bird flu, showing that direct contact spreads the disease. But six other healthy ferrets that had no direct contact with the infected animals, but were breathing the same air as the ferrets that were infected with this virus.
Mm.
Three of those six previously healthy ferrets became infected. So this suggests that the virus can be airborne. The human virus can be airborne. And ferrets have very similar receptors to human beings. So that's
So
concerning.
usually it's me, the one saying that I'm afraid. You've now in this segment said a couple times that you think certain aspects of it are scary. Am I
Did I
allowed to be
say
scared? You
scary?
did. You did. You said what's scary. You did
Oh
twice. I've
gosh,
been counting.
you're rubbing off on me.
I'm rubbing off on you. Okay, well, am I
Wow.
allowed to be terrified yet? Look,
What is being terrified gonna get you? I don't understand.
I've evolved to have a healthy apprehension about airborne illnesses because of my experiences, I suppose, and I imagine the worst case scenario, and it encourages me to go out and buy some N95 masks and wash my hands. Maybe I don't want to be an alarmist here, but the last time I heard about tiny furry animals like ferrets, they were giving COVID to minks. Remember when the mink farms and all those minks were dying because the mink farms were the fur farms? They were just dying by the droves because confining little animals next to each other turns out that's not a great idea. I mean, if ferrets can get it like this and the minks got it COVID like that, I feel like we're
You're gonna
there,
go
man.
walk outside with your mask on, or Trump's gonna get you arrested now because you
No,
can't.
haven't you heard? They'll think I'm ICE. ICE wears masks. Now masks are in the Trump crowd now.
No, I've heard Trump is gonna arrest any non-ICE people who are wearing masks. So
Oh,
I don't
man.
know. I might be spreading fake news, but I heard that's something,
It's hard to tell. I
especially
mean,
at protests.
who knows? I went to a protest this weekend, and towards the end of it, someone said, "There's been an ICE sighting." And I'm like, the ICE aren't coming for me, are they? Are they coming for me? I don't think they're coming for me. There's been an ICE sighting. Um, I don't know. I'm worried about. I'm not scared of ICE, but I'm worried about them. I'm worried about them, especially
Interesting.
because the Marines are already marching on citizens in America. It's troubling. That's in my lifetime. That's never happened. I don't think it's ever happened. The United States Marines are marching on American citizens. There's a part in Shakespeare's Julius Caesar where they cross the Rubicon, and it's made its way into our way of, we say, when you pass the Rubicon, you've passed the point of no return. And the reason why they say that is because Caesar marched his armies across the river into Rome, and that was against the law. But once he did it, there was no turning back. Have we crossed the Rubicon? I don't know.
Well, I don't. I think there's always ways to move forward.
I hope so too. Oh, have we crossed the
Yes.
Rubicon yet with bird flu? I mean, now that the ferrets are getting it like this, is this the point of no return? Or is there a way that we could stop this from turning into a full-blown pandemic?
Well,
Pandemic.
I would hope that maybe producers start seeing which way the wind is blowing, and when they are bailed out for exterminating their flocks and have to take a time out from production, they maybe like invest in other forms of protein production. So, for example, Hickman's exterminated around 95% of their flocks over the past few weeks, 6 million egg-laying hens. They'll get $74 million in bailouts since the Trump administration raised their indemnity payments from $7 a bird to $17 a bird. And they announced that they will close down for 2 years.
So that's you and me paying for that, right? They took all the
Yeah.
risk and we pay for it. They took the risk and we're going to cover their bets at the roulette table.
We talk about the price of eggs is so high. Can we start talking about how we're paying for eggs even if we don't buy eggs?
We're paying for eggs even if they don't produce eggs. We're paying
Yeah.
them $17 for dead birds that they endangered. This doesn't make any sense to me, Crystal. Like 95% of their flocks, that's 6 million birds, and they're going to be closed for 2 years. I think I could accomplish a lot in 2 years. I think I could publish a book. I would write the great
Imagine
American novel in 2 years.
what you could do if you were just handed $74 million and you're like, take 2 years, develop a business, and you have all this land and these buildings too,
Yeah.
like ready to go.
Yeah.
Like you could either sell that land and those buildings and like amass more money. You could even just put it in the stock market and like live, your family is set for this generation, next generation. Just live off the interest. You'll be fine.
You could with 74 million, it'd be
You could
easy to
just do
do.
that.
Or you're out in the farm, you could start the new Tito's vodka. People are always drinking. I mean, I could think of all sorts of ways to spend $74 million. I think I could turn $74 million into more money, or take a long time and have a lot of fun spending it.
Yeah. But you got into this business to produce protein. So if you want to keep producing protein, there's lots of ways to do it that is probably a lot easier and less risky than making it via chicken eggs.
It would make
So,
sense. I mean, this is a private company. This isn't a publicly traded company. So it's not like they have to answer probably to some kind of board, but not to some they don't have to answer to their stockholders. They could take the money and run, sell the land, get out of here.
yeah,
I mean,
I hope they do that.
I don't know why they wouldn't. Hickman's, if you're listening, I know they listen to the show. Mr. Hickman, man, quit while you're ahead. You made a lot of money off of all these animals. There's no reason to keep going. Call it quits. $74 million. Take the cash out, Take it from an old school Vegas Vegas guy. You're gonna be all right. $74 million is a good thing to walk away with. But I don't know. Hickman's Family's Farms. I'd love to know what they think about this. What do you think they're planning on doing for the next 2 years?
I hope they make the smart business move and pivot somehow. All of these people who are executives of these companies, they have this drive to keep amassing more wealth, and I hope they see that there's better ways to do that. It's a tough situation. But nearby there, in that same county as Hickman's,
We talk about cows again.
is another dairy.
Okay,
And
it's a
this
famous dairy.
dairy is a dairy that produces milk for Fairlife. If you've seen the Fairlife brand, it's Coca-Cola's milk brand. They
Yes.
sell, Core Power milk. And there's allegations that Fairlife is misleading consumers by sourcing milk from two Arizona dairies with substandard conditions and alleged animal abuse. And they are supplying their milk under cover of night to avoid detection.
Yes.
According to this news story. So,
Yeah, you say alleged, but I've seen the video. So you call it alleged. I've seen a video.
well, I don't know how they are basically, activists are also tracking the milk.
Yes.
And they are trying to figure out, like, is this milk from this dairy going into Fairlife, which is kind of hard to do, but I guess it goes into the same tank that Fairlife gets their milk from. So
Yeah, I mean, they went to a dairy that was one of these substandard dairies where animal abuse has been reported. They have video of that. It's pretty nasty business. It looks horrible, the regular stuff you see. And then they follow that truck in the middle of the night because they're not going to do it in the daytime. And then they follow it to the Fairlife milk, I guess, like they're kind of where they collect it all. It's like these big tanks, and they stick it all together. So I don't. Why is it going in there if Fairlife isn't selling it? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you have that coming into your house if you're not doing something with it? Of course, the thing with this, it just to me shows the futility. I know that we got vegans listening all over Houston right now, and maybe all over the world. They're listening to KPFT.
we got more than vegans just listening.
That's true. We got more than vegans
lots of
just listening. You're absolutely right. But everybody, or streaming at kpft.org, where you can make a wonderful donation to listener-supported radio. But we got a lot of people to listen to Vegan World Radio of varying diets, let's say. And we all know that guy who's like, well, I only buy milk from Fairlife or some XYZ company, and they treat their cows so well. My local humane. I do it all the right way. And I was that guy, Crystal, when I went vegan 20 years ago, when I stopped partaking in the flesh and fluids of animals. Before I did, I was living in a place where I thought I could go to the dairy and buy the right cheese and all that. It turns out you can't. It's BS. Look at this. They are still doing it. It's allegedly, they're still putting these substandard ones. Not that it's ever okay to steal the fluid of a cow that was, the calf's food. What happened to that calf? Does Fairlife not kill the calf?
Not always. I mean, sometimes the calf grows up to become a milking
another dairy
mom
cow.
again. But
just the boys get killed.
yeah, I visited Fair Oaks Dairy in Indiana last week and got to speak with one of the founders of Fairlife, and who was the chairman of the board of Fairlife. I'm not sure, he might still be on the board, but he's the head of Fair Oaks Dairy, which also supplies Fairlife.
And are they owned by the same it's hard for me to understand with Coca-Cola, because like Coca-Cola owns the whole kit and caboodle somehow, and then Fair Oaks is a different thing than Fairlife, but they're not. It's like when I was in Catholic school, they told me about the Trinity. This is like the unholy Trinity. It's Coca-Cola, Fair Oaks, and Fairlife, and they're all one, but they're individuals.
Yeah, I can't tell you how businesses work, but I do know that there was a $21 million class action settlement a couple of years ago against Fairlife for these allegations of misconduct, and it was really interesting to hear Dr. Mike McCloskey, who is the guy who heads Fair Oaks and who used to head Fairlife or maybe still does. He immediately released an apology video after this abusive footage was released. And this is always what the problem is with this sort of strategy of like, oh, we're going to catch on camera workers hitting calves or whatever,
Yeah.
worker misconduct. Because then these producers, these owners, these executives can say, oh, that's not what our culture is at all. And we have fired those workers. And they did press criminal charges against some of these workers who were caught on tape doing this. And Dr. McCloskey said, like, they put in, now there's 30 video cameras on every farm, and it's AI surveils the footage and looks for things like somebody with a closed fist or somebody moving very fast to
Wow.
a cow. So they can catch this sort of behavior, and they hired a full-time chaplain to assess the workers' mental health and how they're dealing with these problems. So they've done all of these things.
And they put in a foosball table, and
to help.
that's like it sounds like it just
They've
sounds like
done a better job training these things, but
we're training them more. We're making them train. Yeah.
Yeah, and now again, like this is a facility in Arizona has again been caught doing this. But my thing is we have to show the public that even when everything is done correctly, it's still wrong. Like even if we offered the highest welfare practices, even if we followed the system perfectly, it's still a moral horror. And I went and toured this facility on a bus. We drove through their freestall barns, which they have. And Dr. McCloskey was saying, they used to have tie stalls where the cows are tied up in these stalls, all day long. Now they can move freely in and out, go to their food, go to their stalls, but they never can graze out in pasture. Like this is Indiana. They're all in this kind of barn. They're always covered.
If they could graze on pasture, would it make it okay?
Again, I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
We've made these cows so they produce 100 pounds of milk.
And of course they suffer from mastitis and just like all these other animals that are being forcibly bred and milked. But let me back up a little bit, because you said something that really stuck out to me though, at the moral horrors, and like, you're absolutely right. Like capturing the abuses is sad, because then it's always back on the worker. Oh, we're gonna train them better. We're gonna fire that guy. We're gonna excommunicate that person. We're gonna dox that person online. We're gonna threaten that person more. And it just reminds me of like, do you know about the Meli Massacre in Vietnam? I know you've read a lot about the.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I highly recommend the book, The Achilles in Vietnam.
Yes, exactly. I remember that being in there. Right, the Achilles in Vietnam, and Lieutenant Calley was 22 people. For anyone who doesn't know, Meli Massacre, the American soldiers killed 22 unarmed civilians in Meli in Vietnam, and it got to the public. The photos came out. It was horrible. And who did they blame? They blamed this lieutenant, who at first he got 20 years, then they reduced it to 10, and then he was 3 years on house arrest for the murders, and he took all the blame. And of course, they're like, we're going to train our soldiers better. It's going to be, but the moral horror was the war. You know what I mean? It was why are we doing this at all?
Yeah, it's the mass of animals who are confined and can't. We are dictating how they live their lives, which are we as humans. Do we have that right to dictate how 3,000 animals on this farm live? That's something.
That's a good point too. With vegans, I mean, animal rights activists, animal welfareists, even, they'll talk about the rights of the animals. But I think what you just said is exactly correct. We don't have the right to own them. We don't have the right to force them into these breeding situations. We don't have the right to exploit them in these ways. It's as much about the rights we don't have as it is about the rights that they do have.
Yeah, it was interesting. I attended this American College of Animal Welfare course. Over 2 days, we got a series of lectures, and a lot of the lectures talked about, our responsibility to the animals isn't just to make sure that they don't go hungry or thirsty, or like they have
Mm,
shelter and bedding and enrichment and all these things. It's to provide positive experiences for
yeah.
them. So I just am worried, where is this heading? Are we going to tell ourselves we are providing these animals with these positive experiences? These, you see at the dairies, they have these rollers, brush rollers. So the animals enjoy being brushed by these mechanical brush rollers. We're providing them with all the food that they want, and shelter and veterinary care. And we're making sure that they have, their friendships and their social groups and all of this. If we, tell ourselves this story, we're providing these animals with everything that they need, and they are living happy lives. Do we then make it all okay? And I don't think we have the right to dictate to another being to confine them like this, and create this manufactured life for them. Even
I,
if we are creating positive experiences for them, is that, and if we are convincing ourselves like they're better off, they live happier lives with more positive experiences than they would in the wild, do we now have the right to do this to them?
I mean, we're asking the
Or,
same question people
like,
asked in the 1800s, right? If the plantation owner treats his slaves well, does that justify slavery? I would say no, that doesn't justify slavery. I mean, just treating slaves well doesn't justify slavery, especially if you value the principle of liberty and freedom, as I thought Americans did. I thought we
yeah,
did.
I'm just trying to like figure out, how do I explain this to veterinarians who've been co-opted by the industry and people who are working in the industry now,
Yeah.
to switch to other methods of protein production? I know when you say slavery, they're immediately going to roll their eyes.
Well,
And
I'm
I
talking
kind
on
of,
Vegan World Radio. I
I
wouldn't
know,
maybe say
but we are
slavery right off
also
the bat with
talking
it. Yeah.
we know that there are people from the industry listening to this show. There are people from the industry who surveil my social media. And I'm just trying to think of, like, when I message, I want them to listen too, and understand it. And I'm mostly concerned with the veterinary profession. And I see how we're being manipulated into making this all okay, when it's not. Even if we take the animal experiences out of it, we have the inherent problem of the infectious disease trap of animal agriculture,
Yeah.
how we are creating conditions where these viruses of pandemic potential can flourish. We already know there was a study that we talked about previously where around
Yeah.
30% of dairy cows were seropositive for influenza viruses, not just avian influenza, but
But
these were
human influence.
swine and human influenza viruses. Sure, we can like create vaccines for all of them, but then the virus mutates and we'll need another vaccine.
I don't know. It's a very weird thing because by saying that we're going to create these joyous experiences for animals, these happy moments and all of this, we're saying in one breath that yes, they are individuals who long for some kind of reward in their life, some kind of some kind of happiness. We acknowledge that they have the capacity for happiness and suffering, and yet we'll continue to objectify them so that we can profit. And that objectification is the original sin that causes these pandemics and stuff. Like if you treat your wife really well, is it okay to beat her? I mean, I would say no. Just because you treat your wife every day, but you
Well,
only beat
even
her
if
on
you don't
Sundays.
beat her, like, it's the inherent problem with exploitation. Nobody's beating these cows.
Well, at the end of their lives, at the end of the story, they
What
still
if
get
at
hung
the
upside down and bled out.
But they're in the ideal setting, it's just lights out, they're unconscious, and their death is, in theory, much less traumatic than the death of a cow in the wild.
There
Like,
are no
that's what,
cows in the wild. Why do people say this all the
well,
time? The cows
buffalo
in the
or wild
wild.
animals,
All
any
right.
wild animal, like that death in the slaughterhouse is supposed to be better. And if we made the system perfect, it would be better than any death a cow experiences or any wild animal experiences in the wild. Even if that's the case, is it still wrong? And
Of
you
course,
know,
it's still wrong.
say yes, but then there's lots of people who say no, it's not. Our job as human beings is to take nature, to turn it into something beautiful,
Money.
productive, because that's our human nature. We have the ability to do that more than any other species. And so
But
we
nobody looks
should.
at this
And
and calls it beautiful. No one says this is beautiful.
I
They say
think
this is
there are
this is
lots of
the
producers
Matrix.
who call it beautiful. What we've done to cows, the genetics, the way we've selectively bred them to produce so much milk, to be so productive, is the epitome of what humans can accomplish. And
It certainly is a testament to what we can do if we have the right. But like, I don't know the if we
you have
have
to
the
get
right.
into the head of like what these people believe
I
and
know
have
what
been
they
led to
believe.
believe.
I
And
I
I
know what they
feel
believe.
like we as vegans don't speak to them and their beliefs. We just kind of like sigh and like roll our eyes and say it's slavery. It's, and we're just talking past each other, and we're
Well, I
not
mean,
going to
it
convince
is.
anybody that they should change their business model. And
Yeah, but
here,
I'm not saying it's slavery. I mean, it is slavery. These are individuals who are owned, bought, and sold based on weight and ability and profit that I can derive from their bodies or labor. This is slavery.
and
I
people
mean, I
say
know
you're ridiculous. You're comparing it to human slavery.
they
That's
say that, but as early
ridiculous.
as Aristotle, they could say it's ridiculous, but they're calling Aristotle ridiculous. From the early days of philosophy, philosophers have acknowledged that animals are slaves and that all animals born on earth are slaves to humans, and that some people are if they're born closer to animals than other people. That's how they justified slavery of different races, was that they're more like animals than we. That's what they said. That's how they justified it, because they're more like animals. We could treat them like animals. Now, if you just
And then
goes the other.
people roll their eyes and walk away. What are you gonna do? Just keep hammering that point home? Keep
No,
hammering.
no, but I don't want to say like, oh, well, we just say it's slavery. No, well, it is slavery. I generally don't say it's slavery to people, especially industry people, because I don't want them to just roll their eyes and walk away. It's a little too high an idea. So I go from the other direction. I'll ask them, do you think an animal would rather be free? And they say yes, they would rather be free. Now they might say something like you said, well, they
I
might die
know
in the
a lot
wild.
of veterinarians who would say no. They would not. And if I open these gates, these cows would come running back. In fact, gates get left open all the time, and the cows stay right here
Because
because
that's where the
they
food
get
is.
milked and they get, yeah. And the cows love to go on the rotary milker. They have a good time, that cows want to stay on. We have to like force them off. What do you say to somebody who says the cows are better off? They would stay here if you open the gates.
Well, that is always a question, right? There's lots of people that say I'd love to be a dog and be locked up in a house all day. I'd love to be locked up in a house all day. I don't care if people watch me, they'll feed me, and I'll just be locked in the house all day. And of course, that's ridiculous. I mean, we see that these animals, they don't, we see the animals in captivity, like especially cows, they get all these diseases. They're not doing well. They manifest different mental disorders
And
even.
then
They're
when they're
gnawing
not
on their
doing well,
taws and
there's a humane endpoint. And like nature when they suffer for a prolonged period of time before dying.
yeah, it's just a perversion of colonialism. It's okay, right? It's okay to take over the indigenous populations because after all, look what we're doing for them. They appreciate the Spanish missions across America, don't they? Because yes, I know we're using them as slaves, but after all, don't they prefer to have all of the trappings of modernity to what they had before? That was the
A lot of people still believe that. And
yeah,
that's the same philosophy is so common
yeah.
among, white men in America.
Not just white men. There's lots
But
of
and lots
people
of
who just
people, yeah.
they love colonialism. Let's face it.
And
Everyone gives it a lot of mouth service, but they jump right back into it the
they
second
think
they
that
can.
other cultures have benefited
Yeah.
from European Christian colonialism.
Yeah.
So given that, like, are we still going to make the anti-colonial, anti-slavery arguments? I say no. I say that there's a better way to make these arguments. Of
You said
course.
anti-colonial, anti-slavery arguments, which is not generally what I do. I make pro-freedom and pro-liberty arguments because that's what we claim to value in America. And I mostly talk with Americans, and most of them are saying that they're pro-liberty and pro-freedom. Okay, is that liberty and freedom? And they'll usually say no. And now you have to eventually get to hunting, right? Oh my God. But if we could stay away from the hunting argument for just a few minutes and talk about the giant problem of animal-based protein production, I think that anybody can look at that and say, no, that ain't freedom. That ain't liberty. You know, I mean, if you want to be nice to cows because you love them, that's not what it looks like. Robotic brushes or milk Ferris wheels, like these things, we all know that's not freedom. People claim to love it. People claim they want freedom. They
Well,
want freedom.
there's a very clear economic argument that could be made that would appeal to business people. And
Okay,
here's
let's
the economic
the
argument as
effective
well.
altruist argument.
Not even the oh, are you mocking
No,
what I'm
not.
going to say here?
I'm not mocking you because I actually don't know what to say. But when we start, okay, no, I want you to tell me, and then I'll, because
There's
you,
not
you
only
and I.
a scientific public health, One Health argument that can be made to veterinarians about the infectious disease trap of animal agriculture, but there's also just the inherent problems with the economics that can be made to the general public and to these business people. I think people would be interested to know what Mike McCloskey said about his dairies having a lifespan of 20 to 30 years. And now we
Yeah.
say, like, oh, how long do you think it'll be until we end our dependence on animal-based protein production? And I've always said, like, I think within 50 years. But imagine you build a new dairy now in 20 to 30 years, it's going to be outdated and you're going to
Yeah.
have to build a new one. Is that smart for McCloskey to build a new one, or is it smart to invest in other methods of protein production?
Depends how much money he's making. I mean, a casino is only supposed to last between 20 and 50 years. So, I mean,
Yeah.
McCloskey, the human lifespan isn't that long. How old is McCloskey? He ain't going to see the end of these anyway, right? So,
Well, I think he's probably got another 20 years left in 20 or 30 years. I don't know if his kids, if he has kids who are going to inherit this whole deal or what his thing is. But it's interesting. He did say it takes about 1.5 acres per cow to feed them. He owns some of this land
yeah,
and leases land from other places. And then he purchases
buys feed.
15% of the commodities, which are usually byproducts like almond hulls or cotton seed. And he says these are products that would be wasted. Basically, if we didn't feed them to cows who could turn them into protein, because cows have these four
Right.
stomachs.
A
and
little
they-
misleading, a little self-serving because we
little
only,
self-serving.
yeah, we only planted all this rapeseed because we eat the oil and the cows eat the hulls, right? I mean, like all these things, the almonds milk has been promoted because they eat the hulls and we can sell the milk to humans. I mean, this is,
Yeah, and a lot of actually dairies in California actually own almond orchards. So they profit from the almond milk and they profit from the almond hulls that they feed
Yeah.
their cows, and it's a good deal. And while complaining, spreading this myth that almond trees use so much water. So,
yeah, all in the Southwest. It's not just, I mean, it's Arizona. I mean, they grow alfalfa and almonds in any place where there's lots of cows. They grow these two commodities because they can double dip. They can sell some of it to humans and some of it to cows, and it works out great for them. I mean, and that's why they push it on us.
yeah, and he did mention also that in the Southwest, they are running out of water and does not expect there to be much dairy expansion in California. Because, like, honestly, where is there left?
But what
to put
about
another dairy?
Texas? Like we've got lots here, like tons. I mean, they're
But in the Southwest too, like Arizona, maybe even Texas, you're running into the problem of a lack of water.
yeah.
Because they used to be able to pull water up at, he said, like 120 feet Now they're digging down to like 400 feet into
Yeah,
these
the bed is,
aquifers,
yeah.
and they're
Hmm.
pulling up just gross, bad quality water. Um,
Cows don't mind.
and he said the cows that they produce, on average 100 pounds of milk per day, that's about $400 per cow per year that he makes on milk
Well, that's
for
not
each of his
enough.
cows. Then he also 50% of his cows he breeds to Angus bulls. And
Mm.
this is this beef on dairy model. So the calves are half Angus, half dairy, and they're sold as beef cows. And he gets $1,100 for each of those. So way more than he makes on milk is he makes on selling these calves for beef. But
Hmm.
then you have these dairy digesters that he has, and which basically he vacuums up all the manure, scrapes all the manure, puts it into the dairy digester, captures the methane, and about 300 to $400 per cow annually comes from selling their manure, carbon credits, using methane as fuel. He has these trucks retrofitted to run on this methane that he
Oh,
produces.
that's kind of interesting.
So really, only about 20% of his profits come from milk, which
Hmm.
is kind of crazy. Like
Yeah, but it's still called a dairy though,
and
right?
it's still called a dairy, but it's really we're making most of our money off of poop and meat. So I just thought that was really interesting. And if you're not really in the dairy business, and you're running into right now, ICE. He did mention a lot of his colleagues in the dairy industry are running into issues because a lot of the workers are being swooped up by ICE, and they don't have enough people to milk the cows.
Yeah,
Uh,
and let me tell you, I know that it's hard to recognize or identify with some of these characters, but man, I've had people taken by INS, and it's extremely scary. It's like someone that you work with every day disappears, and you don't know what happens to them until days later.
yeah,
And this is way worse than when it happened to me. Now you have back then they called it INS, and they still did stuff like that. People got snatched, but they were snatched because they got a DUI. They got caught up with something. They broke some other law, and so they got snatched. But there's usually a police report. These days, there's not even a police report. You don't know where these people and I'm telling you, when people work for you and you feel responsible for them, and they're getting kidnapped in the middle of the night, and you don't know, and they're just gone.
hmm
It's hard to run a business that way. It's hard to maintain your humanity that way. Just watching people get taken from you. These people, you end up liking them. We've all had coworkers, but when you're a boss, you tend to care about those people. You look out for them, and all of a sudden they're gone.
yeah.
It's it's
It's frightening times we live in right now. You're rubbing off on me with your scared.
frightening, especially for the cows though. And so
Yeah.
so he basically they sell every part of the cow but the moo. If they could bottle that, they would as well. But it's interesting that only 20% is actually coming from the fluids that they squeeze
Yeah.
out of these animals.
And you have this labor problem, but they found a solution to this. They have these
Robots.
robot milkers, and we walked through the dairy and we saw the rotary milker, very interesting, but it involved humans attaching the milkers to the cows. These robotic milkers, the RFID tag sorts the cows when they want, food or milk. They go into the milker on their own, when they feel like it, basically.
Mm.
And when the RFID tag says it's been long enough since they were milked previously, they can go back in. And the robot automatically attaches to their udder and milks them. And then when it's done, it detaches, cleans their udder, and they walk out. Each of these costs about $200,000. You save a lot on labor, that's for sure. As long
Yeah.
as everything stays working. There you go. These cows are in this big barn. They never leave this barn. They just,
It doesn't
rotate
solve
through
his
these
problem though,
things.
because you still have all the people operating who are picking those almond hulls, or trying to get the rapeseed hulls, or picking the
Yeah.
corn. I mean, I know that dairy cows don't traditionally eat corn, but this is the problem. All this feed, these commodities, one goes up, one goes down based on the supply and demand and who's able to pick it. So I guarantee you, if they don't have people to pick the alfalfa, there won't be anybody to pick the corn. So all the commodities will go up. They won't have anything to feed these animals, that not at a decent price.
Yeah,
So
and there's that problem of running out of water, and he said he thinks that dairies can expand in the Midwest and the Northeast to address the water problem.
they could pipe the water. I mean, we pipe oil all over the world. I mean, they could take the water from. They've talked about it for years to get it over the through Wyoming, a pipeline that takes it from the Great Divide. Right, they could take it from one side and bring it to the other, because the East has water and the West doesn't. The West has sunshine and the East has water.
Yeah.
So,
and once we can desalinate water a little bit more efficiently and effectively, that's unfortunately going to solve that problem. But they keep claiming that these places are carbon neutral. But they're only capturing with these dairy digesters about 10% of the methane that cows produce, because 90% of it is
coming out their
released
faces.
in eructation. Yeah, burping.
Yeah, they're burping.
So I think when people get onto this problem, that they are still contributing to greenhouse gas emissions. This actually isn't a net zero situation.
Okay, but so I'm waiting. I guess, like, you told me you were going to give me an economic argument, and I guess you're just saying that, like, it doesn't make any. But I mean, this is like the law of thermodynamics, right? There's always been this, that you have to pay. I mean, with the famous one is I have to get 16 pounds of grain to feed to an Angus cow in order to get 1 pound of flesh. 16 pounds in, 1 pound out. That's just the law. This is Newtonian physics here. You can't, the energy you put in, you don't get the same out. You lose energy in the gears of any machine. That's just how the laws of thermodynamics work. So is that the argument you're making, that, hey,
I think,
this is inefficient?
Showing the whole problem, the whole system is propped up by a series of poorly advised subsidies. You have the low carbon fuel standard credits that we're giving these facilities. You have the water issue. They're not paying enough for the water that they get. And the fact that 73% of dairy revenues come from some form of subsidy.
I love that argument, Doctor. I love it. But let me ask you, because I have to, let's say they fix all that. Would it be okay then?
I don't think it'll be economical for them to continue this method of protein production once they fix all of these issues. This right now, it's propped up by beef on dairy, propped up by manure, propped up by subsidies. We don't need this much manure. It's sort of a bizarre situation that these dairies are in. And I think the more we highlight what dairies really are about, the revenue is only 20% of it is actually milk. The rest is.
Then won't capitalism just fix this? Capitalism to the rescue.
You would think, yeah, with capitalism and better forms of protein production.
Yeah. So really, this is almost a failure of socialist ideas of subsidization, of subsidies. It's a
corporate welfare.
Yes, this is socialism. Let's tear down socialism, because
corporate socialism. Let's have some socialism for the people, and not socialism for the corporations.
I'm with you.
What
we only have a couple minutes left. And I did want to just talk about one last thing. Is it okay?
Sure.
Okay, I want to talk about Ed the zebra in Tennessee.
Okay.
I've been following this story, and it's not exactly a feel-good story, but it does have a zebra in it. So in Tennessee on May 31st, a zebra named Ed escaped, and he was out for 8 days. It became a viral sensation all over the internet. There were dozens of public sightings. People were taking video of him. They were on the highway. They see this wild zebra running through the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. I don't actually know if it's in the Smoky Mountains, but it's in Christiana, Tennessee. My Tennessee geography isn't that great. And what I thought was interesting, they would say him. They say, "Look, I spotted him. There he is." And then all all of the local businesses kept on putting like they photoshopped the zebras into different positions, like getting a facial at the spa or whatever. And they said he's getting a facial. And then when they started talking about how to capture him, everyone started saying, capture it, get the zebra, it. We need to get it.
Interesting.
I thought that was super interesting. And so in a dramatic rescue, though, Ed was gently captured with a net, and then airlift gently captured with a net, quote unquote, and then carried with a helicopter. He looks like it's a remarkable video. People should look it up. He looks like he's dangling 40 feet beneath the helicopter. He's spinning around because of like whatever the rotor wash or whatever it's called. He's spinning around. I hope he's sedated. And they brought him back to his owner. Now, he was just a pet zebra. It's legal in Tennessee, just like it is in Texas to have pet zebras. I'm as a vegan, I'm against owning any animals. That's just where I'm at on this thing. But I don't know. If you can't keep your zebra, aren't we supposed to? Why are we letting this person have zebras? Why do we let people have zebras? You know, is it okay to have? I don't know, man. Isn't it hard to find a zebra doctor? Why are we allowing people to have zebras, Crystal?
I mean, we always want to level up with our animal ownership. It's like, oh, we couldn't master labradoodles, so let's try zebras. I feel like, we should probably try to master our current breeds and species that we've domesticated before leveling up to species like zebras.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Ed the zebra captured my heart. I started imagining wild zebra populations across the plains of America. How crazy would that be?
Gosh,
Just like we have
Mustangs.
Or like the starlings. Those are all the starlings and the mustangs. Those are all feral animals not from America. Why not have zebras out there too? Let's have a wild zebra population.
Boy.
Like the mustangs, a new symbol of the American West. Well, that's our show, Crystal. Hopefully, if you see a zebra, call me. I'd love to see one with you.
Oh.
And this is kpft.org. I'd love for someone to give a donation to kpft.org and get a cool vegan radio shirt, vegan world radio shirt, so that I can say hello to you when I see you. My name's Skyjack Morgan. You can find me on YouTube if you like. And that's Dr. Crystal Heath. Where can they find you?
Oh, on Twitter is where I put most of my stuff. On Instagram, Dr. Crystal Heath. You can find me there. Facebook, all the social media platforms. And thank you, Blue, our sound engineer. And do keep listening to more progressive programming here on KPFT 90.1 FM Pacifica Radio in Houston, Texas.
Standing up for animals is a different kind of fight. When corporations keep the truth far from our sight, but the ones who see the truth can't ever let it go. The truth is a lie.